Jun Bei, thank you for taking some time to allow us to come to your beautiful office and record with you.
Well, thank you so much for coming in to see our new office. So we're very excited. As a new business, we welcome all the visitors.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here with a nice outlook over the park. Today we're going to talk about your journey, your business, your investment process. Being long, short, we're going to dive into what that means and how you construct a portfolio. One of the things that I read somewhere, and I can't remember where this was, but you grew up in Shanghai and then you had dreams of being a world famous politician, I believe, but I don't know if those dreams were cut short, but someone said something to you. I think it was a teacher. I want to know why you wanted to be a world famous politician and how your early impressions of that goal kind of played out.
Thank you so much for that question. Gosh, that really winds me back for many, many years. So that's when I think I was 12 or 13 and grew up in China. At the time, I was still in China. And growing up in China in the early 90s, the education was quite different. And we've been encouraged to never try to be individual. It's always about to be part of a bigger group for the greater good, if you like. And so teacher asked us to write about what we want to do when we grow up. And clearly she was expecting talking about something, I want to be part of an army or something, do everything. And the girl next to me, she said she actually wrote about she wanted to be this unknown policewoman to help the society, and but nobody knows her name. And which is beautiful. But for me, because growing up in that environment, I've always been taught that's what I should say, and I know that's what I should say. But there's a certain rebellious nature in me that I want to be different. I want to stand out. I want to, I want to have my own opinion. And so it's kind of that sort of thought within. I kind of just, I said I want to be a well-known, essentially quite opposite to exactly what they expect me to say, to a well-renowned politician. Now, why did I choose politician? To be quite frank, I couldn't think of anything else more famous than politician at the time. And with early 90s in China, we didn't have too much TV content. We didn't have too many other things to think about. So the most important person I can think of is a politician. So look, in terms of how that's tracking so far, look, I think I'm no politician. I don't think. It's haven't really crossed my mind ever since I arrived in Australia. All I wanted to do is to be different, and then just to see what's possible for me, because every step of the way in my career, there's always, lots of people telling me that I couldn't do it because it's too hard, because it's, just not done before, because of all of that. So it's just really just prove them wrong. Just keep going to see how far I can go.
I love that. And even it's borne out in the way you invest as well today. So we'll talk about that. If I'm not mistaken, you arrived in Australia around about the age of 16 or so, and you had minimal English language skills. And obviously people can hear you talking like fluently, brilliantly, right? You write really well. You do so many things really well. I'm really interested in the craft. So you arrive here. How did you go about learning? It seems like you're someone that's a voracious learner, always trying to improve on your process and the way you do things. So this is more like a learning-based question, Jun Bei, more around how did you actually kind of transform into the English language, like bring those skills across and apply that?
I think it's learning for me is always about curiosity. I'm curious in so many things. Sometimes time wasting curiosity. So many things. When I'm with my children, I'm curious in what they're doing. When I look at my pets, I'm curious in what they're thinking. So I have curiosity to lots of things. Language was interesting because I find when I came to Australia, the biggest impediment for me to resolve a lot of my curiosity and learn about things is actually language. I don't have the tool. I feel quite frustrated at the time. I took 6 months to learn the language. And first 3 months, I had no idea what teacher said. And the next 3 months, I sort of understood. You work out the body language, but they never really understand fully. But I felt that was an impediment to really trying to understand what are they trying to say, what they're trying to teach me in biology or in others. So I find what I did is to try to not perfect, trying to work at the tool. Maybe, so, I sort of accepted early days, my grammar will always be terrible. My English grammar will always be terrible. But I thought the way to do it is to learn the keywords. If I understood the keywords of what people are trying to teach me in any subject, then I sort of get what it is. Then I can explore on my own terms. I can then take the basic understanding of a topic and then go and research and understand it. So, so that's kind of the basic, structure I always put in place in terms of learning, is to work out what's the impediment. Is it technology? Is it language? Is it other things, to then help me to get to the next level? So that's kind of...
I like that. Yeah. So it's like, what's keeping me away from where I want to be? But then you also broke it down in like, what's the kind of keyword? Like, what's the essence of this thing that I'm trying to do? And it reminds me a little bit of like the multidisciplinary framework that people talk about with learning the essential elements of different industries or different, I guess, worldly knowledge. And like Charlie Munger would talk about a lattice work framework. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but he would constantly talk about learning the essentials of biology, the essentials of physics, and using that worldly wisdom to become a better business person and investor. And I think that's part of what we do as investors, isn't it? That we are just constantly feeding that curiosity. Like, why does this company do it that way? Why does that leader do it this way?
I think that's you're absolutely right. I think this topic is so interesting. We can go on for days, but I'll cut it short. But look, I think absolutely. So I actually find someone actually recently said that to me. I thought it was fascinating, that it was one of the things about Chinese language, because the way it's set up, it's a pictogram or whatever. It's a picture. So most of Chinese people and the Chinese cultures since subsequently has been influenced, is that when we look at that picture, a lot of time we don't actually know the whole word. We just read part of the word. So there's a phrase in China, they're saying, students read word, they only read half of the word. Whereas in English, if you don't understand the word, you don't understand the word. It's harder to guess. Whereas in Chinese language, most of the time we guess most of the characters. So when you put them together, in general, the understanding is not 100% of the text. It's kind of like I read 50% of it and then I guessed the other 50% because it's somewhat sort of the meaning. So that has subsequently led to a Chinese culture is a bit vague, it's a little bit creative, trying to put it together vaguely what it means. That's, led to the, obviously the contract is always vague, a little bit gray, lots of gray areas. It's just the way that we have been, that our language is constructed is less precise. So that kind of helped me to go into the learning part where just work out the key parts. And I don't need to understand every single word and then put it together as a picture, put it together as a, work out what really matters. And then it comes to investing, I do find that it's actually so helpful because sometimes we're getting to so much detail and we lost track of what matters in investing. We'll get down to, this quarterly number, they missed 2%, so the share price will fall. But it's actually taking a step back and really work out what matters for that company. Stop getting caught in the noise, and then focus on what really is going to come through. And then we find that kind of works again and again, particularly in the current uncertain environment.
I love that. There's so much uncertainty in what we do, right? There's a range of outcomes. I remember working with an investor years ago, and he would always ask himself, what's like the central question? And what he meant by that was, what is the question that this company has the answer to? So if it's a product, what is that product actually answering in the customer's life? And it was a really interesting way to kind of package that up. Where were you? When was it when the idea of becoming a professional investor or even just investing caught on?
I think when I was in 90s, so in China, and I think my dad was one of the earliest investor in the early stage Chinese market. And I think that's in early 90s. I actually don't know how early. He probably started in the 1990 and there's one of the first investor. And back then there's no computers, there's no internet. So he used to draw those. He's a chartist, and those days, they don't understand the fundamentals of charting. And he used to draw draw the lines of the shares, and then he stick them up around the walls. I started off in his bedroom, then I went to my bedroom, and then went all the way downstairs and into the living room, because so he can connect all the little charts, so to show whether it reached certain ratio, and then is it going to be up or down the next day. And I remember seeing it like just when I was 10, every day listening to his prediction, which is either up or down, and he's always right. So I think there's always this fascination, but it felt a little bit of a gamble because I never understood why the line would go up or down, and prediction is always 50-50. And then I obviously I studied the finance like every good Chinese kid, finance and accounting. Yep. And I actually find I'm much more prone skewed to, or my interest really lies in the finance and economics, because it's more understanding how incentive work, how things work, rather than the accounting part, which is much more technical. Yep. So I find that fascinating. And straight out of the uni, I found a job with Ian Huntley and writing for Your Money Weekly and others. That's really, really a long time ago. And but that's just early stage understanding the businesses. And I had the opportunity to meet the management and all these incredible people that start the businesses. I just thought that it's an incredible career. So that's sort of when I first started thinking, okay, I think I like this. I like to be an investor, and to find a company that ahead of anyone else, it's like treasure hunting. I'm finding a treasure. I find that quite exciting.
Yeah, I did actually see that. Mentioned a few times, the idea of treasure hunting. I haven't heard of it like that, but I guess that kind of builds the excitement around getting up each day, coming into the office, looking at companies. It's like finding treasure, isn't it?
It's absolutely. You do the work. Treasure hunting it's not just luck, right? Treasure hunting, you actually go and hunt them. So you find certain clue and everything. It's exactly what we do. We're finding clues, we're collecting information, and then work out what matters. And then you find your treasure. You lift the stone, and you find your treasure. And then when everyone else is not sure, and then you wait 3 months or sometimes 6 months, when everyone else discover that company, you made your return. So it's absolutely like that.
Yeah. I've got one more question, and I want to ask you something about career advice, but you mentioned like writing and meeting people. Do you like to write? Like, do you think writing is an important part of being an investor?
I think writing helps you to clear your thoughts, and usually when you first sit down and when you start to sit down and writing, your thoughts are all over the place and you don't know where to start. But once you start writing, it really clarifies, it orders your thought into proper points. I find for myself, writing is one thing. Two is that my speaking, it helps me as well. So whether it's dictating or whether even speaking to colleagues and others, because that gives me it helps your brain to come up with better new ideas, things that I haven't thought through. Sitting there just thinking by myself is very hard. You've got to either write it down or speaking to a colleague or something to really bounce the idea, because it just helps your brain to start thinking about what are some of the other aspects and flow on impact and others. I find that very, very important.
And people know of you for that as well, in the way you communicate. One of the things that I know from reading bios, hearing you speak before, you seem to take a lot of pride in is helping other people achieve their goals. And that's not just on the investing side of things, but also with their career, with their businesses, with just finding that strategy for their own self. And you do get asked this question a little bit, but I wanted to ask you here, which is that if someone was listening to this, if someone's sitting back and they're thinking, I kind of want to emulate what you've achieved, right? Whether they're in the investing profession or in something totally different, someone that wants to get ahead, someone that feels like very passionate about their career and progression, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Look, I think the advice will be, don't get deterred when people give you negative, feedback, right? So don't throughout my career, people have told me that I couldn't do lots of things, and don't get deterred by that, because it's actually a lot of those feedback and the recommendation really come out of a good place, because it's through their own lens. And but that's what innovation is. We're creating something ourselves that nobody has done before. Whatever it is, it could be even the way you organize your house, or it could be anything. It's something unique about us. Just let that come through. A lot of time I do find when I have too many of those negative comments, I kind of just switch off. I do think it's very important, especially in times where feel a little bit uncertain. Surround yourself with positive people. I think it's incredibly important, because it's their energy will elevate you. There's always doubt when you do things. I have terrible, the imposter syndrome, and it comes through every now and then. But you watch it, so it's just surround yourself with positive people and just focus on what you need to do. We all know what we need to do, but we get clouded sometimes by our fear and greed and all of these unnecessary emotion. So it's just very important to focus on what you need to do. Sometimes to take a deep breath and go out for a walk. That's what I do when markets volatile. Go for a walk and come back, and then you can focus on what you need to do. The world is not going to collapse tomorrow. Things can always wait. And so that's kind of how I how I see it through. And I think it just stay positive is incredibly important.
For sure. I've heard you once say, and forgive me if I got this wrong, but I've heard you once say that if you're in a room just like this one, right, and you're in a meeting, is just to make sure people know that you're there. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So for a big part of my career, I sort of been hiding behind many things. So I thought my language was really poor. I thought people couldn't understand me. I thought I was really ugly. I thought, just all these insecurity would just clouded me up until probably mid-30s. And then post I had my kids, I kind of feel, there's a level of some part of me wanting to be seen, wanting to really demonstrate who I am. That early days, the little girl wanted to be the world famous politician was coming through. And so by then I realized that, it's, as long as I can finish my sentence, just be known. And then it's this, little step at the time, because in the room, I used to be in the boardroom and I never even finished my sentence because I just don't have the confidence to do so. I thought it's not important. No one wants to hear it. But the minute my mentality turns, I make sure every meeting I'll ask a question, I'll say something, so people know me in the room. And then by doing so, it just added to my own confidence a little bit at the time. A little bit at the time, then I feel actually people do want to hear. I do have some insight, and but I should always know, because I have worked as an equity analyst for almost 25 years. I do have a lot to add, but it's just that confidence that needed to improve on that front. So so I think that's very important to do that for yourself, and also for other people to see actually you're an incredible addition to the team.
Yeah, I love that. I actually really admire that advice, and it's interesting that you mentioned that maybe having kids was a bit of a catalyst there, in the sense of like, no, I can do this. This is what I want. This is, I have the confidence to do this. And I think sometimes it does take a catalyst in someone's life. Sometimes it's more subtle, like you say, where you kind of glean that, you have that kind of self reflection where you're like, actually, I do know what I'm talking about. And I do have something to contribute, and lean into that.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Some people, it's not catalyst, but others it does. For me, someone did say to me once, but it could even be age, right? And someone said to me once, when you're young, which is very true with me, is that we just did lots of things for other people. We want to be seen. We want to be, do things for people, and then so they're happy. And that I've done that as well. And then you reach a point. So for me, it's kids, but others, it's just age. In that late 30s, you kind of feel, what about me? I'm good in what I do. And at that point, that's when you sort of pick up the pen, write your own story. That's when you go, I have my own story. And it's as exciting, as, fun and, intricate as everything else.
Yeah. I'd like to switch gears to investing specifically, and the business that you've built around that. going back a few years, in 2005, I believe it was when you joined Tribeca, you took over the Alpha Plus fund in 2019. You mentioned off air that, at the time, that was, it was a big deal. There were things moving around in every direction. But you took that from 350 million by my numbers to 1.5 billion. Now it's morphed into 10 cap, which we'll come back to. I would like to start at that kind of the beginning of you becoming the portfolio manager, what that looked like, and then some of the challenges you overcame.
Absolutely. That was terrifying. And that's a moment where I felt like you fake it till you make it. So look, looking back in that day, around that point, I had many years of investor experience. And just a few years before I took over that fund, I actually went to the Tribeca management and said, look, I need to set up a new fund because I'm ready to be a fund manager, but clearly I don't have track record. I was willing to set up a model portfolio and just get it going. And I'll put together a business case. I push for it, and then Tribeca actually says, "Sure, you do that, but as long as you can raise money." And then there's no resource; it's one man band. So and then I put it all together. I was daytime, I was an analyst, and then nighttime, I was putting together this global portfolio, whatever I put together. And and then that actually started having good track record. However, I didn't have any funding, so it was all in a paper form. But I knew I wanted to do that. I want to get to the next level. So when the opportunity come up with this fund, I see it as my opportunity. There was discussion with the Tribeca talk about, should we shut the fund? Because it's 10% under the high watermark, which means if you do 10% outperformance, you won't get paid. Yeah. Because then I thought, look, these clients deserve to be rewarded. They lost their 10% relative to benchmark. And then, they all stay with me. So clearly I'm not going to shut the fund. I am going to reward them for being loyal to this fund. The scary thing is, of course, I don't have real money track record, but I know I'm good in picking companies. So the fear is that, I don't know, I've never done this before, but actually I have. So it's really just working through my own, fear and insecurity, but really apply rationally every day, just translate into everyday decisions. And then also working with, the team, trying to get ideas for analysts. Tribeca has quite many funds, so trying to, get resources and manage it together. So that was the challenge at the time to do that. Also, at the same time, I've got to front all the clients to shore up sort of support.
Yeah.
And I didn't know most of them, only just met a couple beforehand for 6 months before. And one of my large supporter, I only met him the week before. So really to front all these clients and be transparent about, I don't have track record, but I'm good at what I do, and give me a chance. And for all these clients that stayed, they're still my clients till today. There are many of them. Some of them are I've caught up many times over the years. I still remember it's a small investor. They're based out of Melbourne. I went to see them and they said, the consultants, because consultant all put me on the sell. So that's very difficult for a fund. You just have outflow. They all put me on the sell. And then this retail advisor, he's got a little bit of money. He said, look, our compliance lady said you've been downgraded, but we're going to ignore that. We're going to give you a go. I think I almost burst out into tears. And but I just remember every day when I sit there running those portfolio, I remember those people. They put their clients' money on the line to give me the opportunity to grow it for them. And they clearly saw, in my experience, I'm able to do that. So every day I remember that, even till now. Every single day when I run the fund, I think about those investors in my fund.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Obviously, the fund has performed well, but then also the business side of it has performed exceptionally well. How important is it to you to say, I have a $1.5 billion investment portfolio? Like, how important is that to you?
I think not so much, because it's not about, I'm so big and everything else. No, it's not. I think I feel honored every day to wake up to do what I do. I feel really honored. It's all the clients that give me the opportunity to do that. And I love it. It's like treasure hunting. Every day people pay me to go treasure hunt. That's fantastic. And then every day, it's so dynamic and the market's so different. I just think it's fascinating. So I wake up feeling it's fantastic. But what I do feel though, part of the reason I'm sure you touch on later on setting up the business is that I just want to take, my own destiny into our own hands, because we want to have, all the best people to run this fund, all the best resource designed specifically for this fund. And then subsequently, if we grow bigger, that's fantastic. But otherwise, we get to do what we do best, and with the best system, the best people, and all in it together, just the sole focus of running this fund better.
Let's talk about that. So not too long ago now, you effectively, quote unquote, went out on your own, so to speak. You've got the business 10 Cap, and effectively the clients that were with you at Tribeca have now come across, and it's wonderful to see you taking that step. One thing that I've always been interested in is you hustled, you grew the business, and obviously if I was sitting in Tribeca's seat, I'd be like, well, Jun Bei, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for doing all of this great work. How did it then come to be that you go from doing under the Tribeca banner to then doing it as 10 Cap? Like, how does that transition work?
Yeah, so it obviously the transition worked very, very smoothly. Last year when we talked about it. So I think over time, in the last 6 years, I've been running the fund. I think I continue to grow, and I continue to grow with my clients, my fund, and some of the it's not frustration. Some of the things that sort of I feel that's constraining to my growth is has been apparent to my clients and all my partners really. And so it's something that's been sort of percolating in the back of my mind that I want to grow, but how do I grow and, have more resources, have people dedicated to this. So I think it's something that's been working for a long time. And then I crossed paths with Jason, and Jason has very different sort of background, and has been just fantastic to thinking, okay, well, I can't do it all myself. Then we have someone can run the business, can try do all these other things, and then becomes a lot more real in what we could do. And then I think so the negotiation with Tribeca, or discussion started in mid last year with Tribeca, or September last year with Tribeca. Is really about thank you so much for the journey, and I need to do this, and I think from Tribeca perspective, they knew it was coming. They knew it was coming. I've grown. I think I've outgrown the business just in 5 years at the time, and so we both said, look, what's the best outcome for the clients? Let's sit down and work out a way to be the best for the clients. Now, at the time, there was obviously all these obstacles. Tribeca never seen anything being done like that. The market never seen anything done like that before. But we just work through every time when there's any impediment, we work through it. Working out what was causing the issue. Let's deal with those issues mechanically. And it's incredible. We started discussion in September, and by November we signed the full agreement. And then by 1st of February we opened for business. It's just incredible. Every step of the way, everyone said going to take longer, and we made it happen. And so I just think it's credit to Tribeca as well of how to make it very seamless and smooth for client transition.
Yeah. It's also probably testament to your personal brand, right? Because I imagine a lot of the clients, when they currently invest or previously invested, they were investing with you because you're the one that kind of was there at that moment, 6 years ago, where they were unsure. And then you made them sure, and you gave them that confidence. So I think that means a lot to a lot of people, particularly in the world of investing, and in particular active investing, of course. If we move a bit to the investment philosophy, the fund is long short, which I'll get you maybe just to briefly define for people that aren't familiar with what that means, and just explain at the highest level, Jun Bei, like what is your investment philosophy as a firm or as an individual?
Look, investment philosophy is always that first remember why I'm here. I'm here because I'm here to generate return for my clients. So I have a benchmark, ASX 200, and my goal is to outperform the ASX 200. It's not about, being right, market's wrong, or growth or value. No. It's about make money for my clients. And my client have their client to answer to. And their client are those retirees waiting for improvement in their, lifestyle. For those returns I need to generate for them as I promised to my clients. So first of all, understand why I'm here, to outperform the market. So my investment philosophy is very, very much so. I want to find companies in any market condition, buy the ones that I think will generate return better than the market, and sell the ones or short the ones that I think the market, there is inefficiencies in the price, and then the price will fall. To me, it's very simple. Get those right. And at the same time, every day to be realistic about what the new information presents. Because a lot of time fund managers forgot that, you get so so wedded to a stock conviction, especially when the market go against you. For me, I'm always a little bit more pragmatic. Look, if the information is different from what I thought, should we revisit? Has there been any changes? If there hasn't, maybe we should buy more. So I'm much more pragmatic in what I see every day, and they're also very focused on delivering return relative to the benchmark, because that's what I'm here for.
So in terms of, I love the purist approach, but also the pragmatism that comes with that. In terms of long short, so effectively you're trying to find great companies that will outperform. And then on the short side, you're effectively doing the fundamental research on these companies anyway, and you're looking to short those and use the proceeds from the shorts to fuel the long side. When we think about the long side, if we take them one at a time, so if we think about like the long book, the companies that you want to own and benefit from, what are you specifically looking for?
Yeah, so there are many things. So management is the big one, because especially for a fast growing business, and especially if they're a little bit small, it's that founder mentality really drive a lot of those, executions. And so that's very, very important. Two is the business proposition, right? So the business, it's got to have a purpose. So, why is it in existence? What's the, client value proposition? Why are you better than everyone else? And are you investing in those? So it's the business franchise, is very, very important to me. I like high quality companies because the business franchise is easier to ascertain. You've seen them execution, great management, done it before, done it for many years, and then you pay for those businesses. I think the challenge thing is for many investors that those high quality business in Australia, they're expensive. They trade at quite significant premium to everything else because we haven't got too many growth companies. I guess my benefit is that I can buy lots of those high quality businesses, and I can buy more of them because I can short other companies that might be just a bit too expensive for what they are. And their earning may not be high quality. There might be some earnings downgrade coming through. So I can short on the other side. So when you put them together, by shorting, I get extra money and then put into the good quality companies and more of the good quality companies on the other side. So when market, go through, whether it's volatile or whether market go through different conditions, I am actually quite hedged on some of those, say expensive exposures.
Just to probably dive straight into a technical question. Sorry about this. On the short side of things, is it just individual companies that you're shorting, or do you also take advantage of like indexes, like derivatives or futures contracts or anything like that to help you get the short exposure?
No, I don't. So I only just do stocks because I find if you short index, that's almost a lazy way of doing the shorting. If you look at what's the composition of Australian indexes that that's resources and banks, and then a little bit of CSL, healthcare and others. So resources and bank will be big part of the index. So if you short the index, meaning you short the banks and the resources. Now, look, last year would have been horrendous because CBA went up, 40%. So that's just a very lazy way of shorting it. And then you're shorting blue chip, right? You're shorting big companies. So where we find where you make most of money is actually shorting companies, less so big blue chip. Sometimes it works, but a lot of time the insight is in the smaller to mid cap companies where there's earnings challenges and they're too expensive for what they are. And then the return you can generate from that is incredible. So we like to find those stock specific shorts than using the index shorts.
Yep. I think that's a really fascinating insight because we were just talking off air, there aren't many long short funds in Australia that scale to $1.5 billion for many different reasons. But it's such a unique strategy, and particularly when you're active, like you're so active and you're saying to people, no, this is my role. I am in your portfolio for this specific reason. On the long side of things, I believe you can hold, is it 70 stocks? And on the short side, around 30. Just at the highest level, Jun Bei, is how do you think about, like, is there a rules-based approach to portfolio construction? Is there some other way that you, like if you were to wake up and go in the office and check the screen or something like this, what are the metrics that you would look at for the portfolio? Is there any, or is it more just company specific?
There's a lot of metrics actually in our investment process. Fundamental investment process is only parts of the component. There's 4 steps of our investment process. So fundamental, getting the company right, is number 1 step. You've got to get it right. You get your valuation right. You know what people are expecting, and our strength is really working out the price inefficiency. So if your earnings is going to be better than expected, then share price going higher, or worse, share price going lower. So that's kind of, we're very good in finding out those information and ascertain those. And then the second big part is that portfolio construction, it's so important in today's world, because sometimes we might like lots of companies all in the same sector, and then you suddenly get wiped out when the market condition change, especially today's world. So I actually group my companies into 5 big mega sectors, if you like. Australia, if you just group them into gigs, it's too small, right? So mega sector, so companies that group in these ones, they are the growth mega sector. So that's got your healthcare, your technology company, more long duration businesses. And then you got the next group, which is natural resources, more top down, more global commodity price driven, global growth, China. Next one, we got yield, which is banks, insurance, kind of more less growth businesses, but more yield dominated, more defensive. And then we've got the global cyclical, like your James Cardie, like your Orica. And then the last group is domestic cyclical, like our retailers, JB Hi-Fi and others. So, when I group them into those, then I play long short within those buckets. So when I start doing that, I keep the portfolio exposure to each of those buckets pretty neutral relative to the benchmark. Because when I do that, I stop having big swings. So I'm not betting all the US company will do well, or I'm not betting all the resources will go well. I'm actually betting in between. So within the growth bucket, I may pair a healthcare against a tech. Just give me a bit more stocks, and also I'm keeping it more neutral. So that means when market doesn't want to buy growth company, I'm still okay, because I have long short sort of pair trade within those space. So the good thing is, any point in time I can jump in and buy the companies I want. They may be out of favor, but the thing is I can short something else within that bucket as well.
So it's more of a kind of a purist approach, in the sense of you're not going by the predefined rules of GICs or sectors or this. It's more like, what does this security offer to our portfolio? And you've got those 5 buckets, but it's like within that bucket, what are you bringing in growth? What are you taking in drawdown or something like that, or risk? Which actually makes a lot of sense to me, and that's a really interesting answer. That's around really dividing it up like that.
Yeah, that's really, really good, and like a summary. I think that's absolutely it. And so that's a portfolio construction. And then also I have my risk. I have a risk model, so I checked every single day just to look at what my portfolio look like. Is it too big, too skewed to large company? Is it too volatile? Is it too high beta? Is it too too sensitive to inflation or interest rate or currency? So every day I check that every single morning, and then before I put on a trade, I check that again.
Right. Okay. So you've got those kind of constraints around the downside. Yeah, really fascinating. So I've got 2 final questions. One's a very simple one, which is I'll put a link in the show notes to the 10 Cap website and the resources and previous interviews that I put together and I watched or reviewed ahead of this meeting. But is there anything else that you would direct people to?
Yeah, sure. So, look, I think 10 Cap website is, we spend a lot of time and effort on there. And, we update it very, very frequently. So it'd be the best place to access a lot of resource. And then we want to be a little bit different, right? So, we do it in different formats. So sometimes we have webinar, and sometimes we have videos, and sometimes we have writings. And then we recently started this Meet the Expert. So, we introduce different people from different sectors, and there's more to come. So So we want to put a lot of content on our website so that clients and prospects can come and visit to see how we think. We not just constantly sit there on our spreadsheet. We're real investors. Real investors, we meet everyone. We meet everyone, and we're interested in everything. There might be just a snippet. There's some other sectors, maybe fashion webinar coming up, but it's about learning in those space because listed companies, we have every sector company, every sector has interested stories. So we like to have those content on there. So that's the best place to access.
Sure. Oh, great. I'll pop all those in the show notes for people so they can learn more. The final question I always ask new guests on the show is, if you could go back in time, maybe this is back into the time when you're in China, or maybe it was when you first got here, maybe it was 2 days ago, who knows? But if you could go back to a younger version of yourself and tell yourself something, whether it's about money, finance, business, investing, life, whatever, what would you say?
I think that's a really good question. I think, first of all, I don't think I want to change anything that happened in my life because it's all part of learning and to become who I am today. But if anything, look, I think it just grow with confidence. That's the biggest thing for myself. If I am armed with confidence in what I do and what I know, I think I can learn so much more. And I might not end up to be an investor. I might experiment with so many different sectors. I might be a florist. I think early days I want to be a florist, but just grow with confidence and own what I have achieved I think it's something I would tell my younger self.
Wonderful. That's wonderful advice. Well, Jun Bei, this has been a great treat for us. So I really do appreciate you allowing us to come up to your lovely office here and have this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and you can come to the office anytime.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.